Hi, how's it going? It's been a busy week, busy couple of weeks. I can't believe Thanksgiving's next week, at least here in the United States. This year has flown, at least for me anyway. It's just been really, really fast. I feel like ever since COVID, it's been that way. Like one year after the other, it's just been going really, really fast and seems to be speeding up. Perception, right? But in any case, coming into the holiday season, um, it's my annual little tidbit on making sure you're balancing yourself, that you're grounding yourself. There's been a lot. It seems to be a reoccurring theme. So just a reminder that you're not alone. We're all feeling it on some level, how it's playing out in our lives. And just a reminder to take care of yourself, right? So I talk a lot about being present in the moment as much as you can. We're not going to be mindful 24/7. Our brains, I mean, it's a rarity. Let's put it that way. There are people that try and be mindful more than not, and those, like, I don't know if you've ever seen those amazing videos of like monks that can balance on one finger. It's pretty impressive. And not to self-sabotage, but I have zero intention of ever getting to that level of mindfulness. But being present it's similar to just kind of taking your pulse every once in a while, right? Touching in with yourself. Where am I at? If you remember in my last video, I talked about a behavior chain, and I did like the little triangle, and it was emotions, thoughts, and how I'm feeling in my body, right? Every once in a while, it's just taking a pause in your day and just putting your finger on the pulse of where you're at in all three of those categories. What's happening? Because we don't want to wait until there's a trigger to be able to tap in with ourselves. Because the goal is to really kind of see where we're at. How am I feeling about different things? Like if I'm coming up on a choice, how am I feeling about that? Not only emotionally, but how's that coming out in my body? And what are different things that I can do to kind of balance that out or create other emotions or feelings or sensations, whatever it is that I'm looking to do, right? So we can't really take that empowered action if we're not paying attention and making those discerning choices. Because when we're not, then we just think life is something that happens to us. And then we relinquish any kind of self-accountability, which is the same as giving away our power. We're not taking that back and saying, I have say over this. I can make other choices. I can have a different impact if that's what I choose, if that's what's in alignment with my goals or how I want to feel. That's important, because otherwise, if we're not paying attention and we're not being present and self-accountable, then it's easy to fall into that loop of life is something that's happening to me and I have no control, which gives you that hopeless and helpless feeling of victim mentality in a lot of ways, of life is punishing me, versus tapping in here and there and making other choices. Now, yeah, there are things that we don't always have control over. There are some things that we cannot change, regardless of how much we want to try, at least not in the moment. Oftentimes, change is something that happens over time through consistent other choices, right? But there's certain things that we're never going to change. And we don't want to change everything anyway. We're not out here doing everything wrong per se, right? We probably do a lot of things right in our lives, especially if we're still here. So it's being mindful of that too. Take your wins, own them, just as well as being self-accountable for maybe the choices that aren't serving us. Okay? And again, also being able to parse out, how much control do I have over this? Because again, there are certain things in life that happen that we have no control over because it was somebody else's accident or mistake or just life experience. And then it may impact us. You know, thinking of living in an apartment building and someone forgets they left a candle burning or something, and the consequences that can happen from that really have nothing to do with your choices other than the fact that you chose to live in that apartment building, right? So self-accountability is be accountable for things that are truly things that you have impact over, or you can make other choices and not own the things that don't. Because sometimes people will try and give us their problems, and they're not necessarily our problems to solve because it's not to do with us. So then we can just get in that loop of exhausting our energy constantly into something or someone that is never taking our advice. They're just trauma dumping on us, looking for us to take that unpleasant emotion off their hands, but not willing to create the change or the self-accountability in order to create other choices that can help alleviate those problems in the first place. Okay? So pay attention to patterns, loops, positive and negative, right? Because like I said, we're not out here doing everything wrong. We want to be self-accountable for our wins too. If I made a choice, right? I sat there and I made an intentional choice to do something different, to create change in my life, and it pans out for me, I want to own that. That builds self-confidence. That builds self-efficacy, right? That's saying, I did that. And it also encourages us and gives us motivation to work on goals when we make those steps and have success with them. But the key is to not catastrophize when we take intentional action, right? Inspired action, and it doesn't pan out the way we want it to. That doesn't mean that all change is bad. But oftentimes as human beings, we overgeneralize, black or white, all or nothing thinking, right? So the self-accountability piece would be, okay, well, mistakes are proof we're trying, right? It's not really failure unless we quit. So regather your resources and move forward, but maybe make a tweak here or there to make other choices that are more in alignment with your goal. Learn from the mistakes so that you can make other choices and see how those pan out. But don't ever give up on hope. That's a hard thing to sit with when we give up hope. Okay? But the self-accountability piece is, what can I do differently to achieve my goals? What can I learn from this? How am I showing up? It's that owning your own piece. But make sure you're not owning more than your share of positive or negative, right? We don't want to take credit for someone else's actions, but positive and negative, because sometimes people will take credit when someone else does good work. Like maybe you have an employee and they do the good work and you get praise from your boss and you don't give credit where credit's due. Well, that's taking good credit for positive works that wasn't yours to take. But we can see it pan out the other way too. So Dane Cook, he's a comedian. I don't know if he's done anything recently, but when he first came out, there was this funny line that he says, and he goes, "Why did you let me hit you going 80? So he's talking about a car accident and how he rear ends somebody, and the joke is like really that projection of, why did you let me hit you going 80? Like it's someone else's fault that you made the mistake. We're joking. I'm joking about that, but people do that. Pay attention. Just because someone says it's your fault that you hit them driving at 80 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour lane, or doesn't mean it's true. That's just projection. Pay attention. Don't own things that aren't yours to own. And that's that importance of staying in our own lane, right? Just because someone says it's your fault doesn't mean it is. If you didn't create the problem, but people will guilt. And if you have unhealed aspects that they can trigger, especially if by triggering that, you're going to fall in line with what they're trying to do, there's a lot of people that will do that. That doesn't even make them evil. But that's not a positive way of being. It's very manipulative, self-serving. Says a lot about the person who's trying to do that. But we're only manipulated or manipulatable. Make that up. I don't know if that's a real word, but you get my point. If we haven't been doing our own healing work. So that's the self-accountability piece, is if that triggers me, why? And what do I do about that? So that I can make the decisions and choices that are aligned with my values and my goals without throwing anyone under the bus in the process. We shouldn't have to walk on people to get where we need to go. But sometimes we do have to let people go. We don't want to hold on to people that need to go elsewhere. Okay? All right, well, that's my 2 cents. If I don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, I hope if you celebrate that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with whomever you choose to celebrate with. I hope it's smooth and fun and you have lots of good food. And be grateful for it. All right? And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.